A very good evening to everyone. So it's a pleasure to have Girish today for this much awaited talk. Many of us here probably are already aware about his work and everything, but for other people, here's a bit of an introduction about our speaker today. So Girish completed his bachelor's in engineering from Bangalore University and further master's from VTU. He joined RRI in 1995, which means an association of 29 years and counting. So his expertise has been in the development of high-speed digital signal processing platforms, optimized architectures for real-time signal processing, and earlier he has also worked on RF and IF receivers for radio astronomy. And on a personal note, he has been a very integral part of our CMB distortion lab, right from the time of his inception. And he and his colleague, Srivani, who's also here in the audience, are the prime developers for all the digital subsystems that we have in different experiments in the lab, Saras, Apsara, and Pratush. Girish has also been very active in our field deployments, which is, again, one of the important aspects of the lab activity. And he has conducted a lot of surveys of suitability of sites for their radio quietness. And initially, these activities were limited in India, but now, as you'll see in the talk, it has moved beyond the borders. And such activities have been the really key aspect in us getting a lot of scientifically valuable results from our earlier deployments. So today, he's going to be talking about one such survey that he carried out in the Arctic as part of India's first winter expedition in the Arctics. So without much further ado, I invite Girish to please come and deliver the talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Saurav, for that kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I'm really lucky to have got this opportunity to travel to the place called Ny-Ålesund in the Arctic. That's where I spent about a month's time, maybe from about 20th December 2023 to 16th January 2024. Okay. So this talk is about the time I spent there in Ny-Ålesund, living there, working, like Saurav mentioned, for the RFI survey of the place, to see if it is a potential place to deploy Ceres, and trying to understand life in the Arctic, which is very interesting. This is all the reading up I did just before I left for Svalbard. Okay. So this picture on the left side is an award-winning picture of ice bed thing. And the other one is from a place which is close to Ny-Ålesund. It's a place called Tromsø. I'll be referring to Tromsø later. And I'll just get started with this. So this is how my talk is organized today. The background to India's first ever winter Arctic expedition. And then RRI's motivation to be part of this first Arctic expedition. And it was an exciting journey from Oslo to Ny-Ålesund in Svalbard. Okay, so I'll have a few slides about that. And then some interesting facts about Svalbard, really interesting. And then there's a very nice, important building in Svalbard about which I'll describe in a slide or two. And then the Ny-Ålesund Research Station, which is considered to be an international Arctic research station because there are institutions, 20-odd institutions from 11 to 12 different countries in the world. And then it's about history of the place, and then how it began, its evolution to the present state, and then how it is organized and run. And then the next one is about India's permanent Arctic research station, Himadri. I'll have a couple of slides on that, what kind of facilities are available there in Himadri, and then what is nice about that building. And then some interesting pictures about Ny-Ålesund settlement. And then, like, the time that I was there, it is called what is called the polar night period. That is when the sun doesn't almost really rise at all, and then it is dark throughout the day. And then you don't know whether to call it day or night. Okay. So I'll have some nice pictures of the Ny-Ålesund settlement, and then definitely about northern lights. And then deployment of a RFI recording system in the place called Gruebada lab, which is slightly away from Ny-Ålesund settlement. And then a very short summary of the results from RFI survey, and then weather, logistics, and what kind of challenges we encountered when we were there. So when I say we, I'll just tell you who the other people are. And then in general, life in Ny-Ålesund, how it is anything but gloom and doom during dark season, and then how people are happy surviving there, and then they enjoy, in fact. So background to the first Arctic expedition, Himadri, we all know, is India's permanent research station located in what is called the International Arctic Research Area in Ny-Ålesund, Svalbard in Norway. Okay, so it has been operational since 2008, and scientific teams have been traveling to Himadri only in summers. That's between April and October, when weather conditions permit people to do field experiments. And although there are automated observations which continue during winter time, that is between say November and March, field experiments were not possible. So 2003, I think India decided to man Himadri year-long, all around the year. And then India became only the 4th country in the world in this Arctic region to have a year-round presence in the Arctic, after Norway as host, and then followed by Germany, Italy, and India. So winter Arctic expeditions, it is supposed to address the data deficiency during polar nights when they were not able to carry out field experiments. And then this is especially targeting areas like atmospheric sciences, space physics, and biological sciences, marine sciences, where people go out in the fjords there in the Arctic and then collect marine samples. So they were not able to do this during winters. So they're trying to address this aspect as well. So with this background, what India's first ever winter Arctic expedition, and so what is RRI's motivation to be part of this? So obviously it is SARAS. SARAS is an acronym for shaped antenna measurement of the background spectrum. So it's an ongoing experiment which is trying to detect a very faint signal from 21 centimeter signal from emitted by neutral hydrogen from the time when the first stars and galaxies lit up the universe. So detecting such a faint signal is a daunting task. The reason is there are very strong, very high orders of magnitude signals which are stronger in, than the signal that we are trying to detect, which is coming from our own galaxy. And there are emissions from our own ionosphere. And other major obstacle or hindrance in this measurement is what is called as radio frequency interference, RFI for short. It's a terrestrial human-made, from human-made sources like FM and TV stations, which emit right in our band of interest, and then communication systems. So SARAS team is always on a lookout for a pristine site to deploy SARAS for science observations. And this remote Svalbard archipelago in the Arctic, we thought it's a promising site for SARAS deployment, and that is what that's a motivation why we are trying to do a frequency characterization of the site in Svalbard. So just to give a feel for population densities, some interesting places around the world, and then some places where we are also associated with, like the Western Australian outback, where square kilometer low, well, supposedly the world's largest radio telescope is going to come up. It has a population density of 0.01 persons per square kilometer. And SKA Mid in South Africa, which is coming up around Karoo region, that has about 1 person per square kilometer. And Shimoga district, that is where SARAS-2 was deployed, and we collected data and then which helped us in refuting Edge's claim of a detection. That has a very high number, 200 persons per square kilometer. So compared to this, the Svalbard region, it is a remote place. It's about 0.04 persons per square kilometer, which compares very well with the Western Australian outback. So population density, low population density need not necessarily mean low RFI. I think we'll see that. So timeline of this first ever winter Arctic expedition, National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, NCPOR, Goa. So they are the nodal agency. There's a nodal agency under Ministry of Earth Sciences. So they conduct the scientific experiments and expeditions to both Arctic and the Antarctic. So NCPOR sent out a call for proposal in September 2023. The entire thing happened very quickly. I think we are not even maybe ready kind of to travel. It was so short sometimes. So September 23 is when the call for proposal came. Saurabh, as principal investigator of SARAS project, submitted this proposal titled Characterization of Radio Frequency Environment for Cosmology Experiments in Ny-Ålesund region. Okay. And then end of 2023, Saurabh had presented this and then successfully defended the proposal to a review committee constituted by NCPOR. So at the end, only 15 out of 41 proposals were shortlisted. And in early December, NCPOR conveyed to us that our proposal is accepted and we should be ready to travel in 15 days' time in the middle of December. We had not even packed our boxes by then. So this is the list of current members. I just happened to be a better place to travel to Svalbard around that time. That's how I think I'm lucky to have got this opportunity to travel there. Although Saurabh and 3 other names were submitted as part of the proposal. So it was just luck. Launching of India's maiden winter Arctic expedition, it was flagged off by Honorable Minister for Earth Sciences, Shri Kiran Rijiju in New Delhi on 18th of December. And a 4-member team left New Delhi for Ny-Ålesund, Svalbard on 19th of December. And then these are my other 3 colleagues who joined me there to the trip to Svalbard. Okay, the first person here is Prashant Rawat. He's PhD student from Indian Institute of Technology, Mandi. Next person is Atulya Radhakrishnan, a PhD student from NCPOR, Goa. And the last person here, third person here is Surendra Singh. He's from Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, Pune. So the 3 of them were mostly focusing on climate change studies and electrical characteristics of clouds in the Arctic. So this is the very interesting experiments that they were doing. And then it was a close-knit team. We really helped each other in our experiments and then got to know about our experiments. It was nice. Although initially there were concerns that I was just preparing to live and work with strangers. I had not met them till I shook hands with them in New Delhi. So it was a nice experience working with them and living with them for 1 month there in Ny-Ålesund. And then, so by the time we have a lot of encouragement from RRI, and then obviously there was a lot of good wishes from friends and family alike. So we were all set to depart New Delhi for Ny-Ålesund. So our destination is the Svalbard archipelago in the Arctic. Okay, so Norway is the host country in the, and then we obtain a Schengen visa to reach from New Delhi to Oslo. We stay in Oslo for a day, for that day, and then next day we travel to the place called Longyearbyen, which is in Svalbard region, and then from Longyearbyen we make the last hop to Ny-Ålesund. That is the destination. So we have, like I mentioned, we have a Schengen visa, and even obtaining this, I think they just got it in 3 days. It was so fast. I mean, we always thought that, okay, I don't think we'll travel, and then what happens with all the tickets and other things. So it was really, everything happened. I think NCPOR knows how to manage this. So that's the destination is Svalbard archipelago in the Arctic. So that's what Oslo to Ny-Ålesund is interesting. The reason is, so the Svalbard archipelago, even though Norway's sovereignty is there in Svalbard archipelago, foreigners don't need a visa or work permit to go there and go there. But it's difficult to get to that place without any work permit or something like that. So because foreigners don't need visa, so you don't exit Schengen area Norway and then straight away fly to Longyearbyen. So you break your journey at a place called Tromsø, and where you get out of the plane and get your passport physically stamped saying that you're exiting Schengen area, and then on the way back you come back again, have a break, and then again get your passport stamped. And so you need to do that. And then from Tromsø you fly to Longyearbyen. Longyearbyen is where we stay for one evening, and then next day we make this last hop, like I said, from Longyearbyen to Ny-Ålesund. Svalbard has some very interesting facts. This is where the world's northernmost permanent settlements are there. Interesting is there are more polar bears than people. Just to put things in perspective, population of Norway is less than one half of Bangalore population. so I had some very interesting discussions with people there. So they were happy that there was COVID. Otherwise, people in bus stands, because there are so few people, they would stand 10 to 12 feet apart. And then once they made the rule that, okay, you have to maintain 6 feet distance, so at least people came close. So they think they're more polar based than people. Out of this 2,640, about 2,500 of them live in Longyearbyen, which is the administrative capital of Svalbard. And that's where the Svalbard governor operates from. And the rest, 30 to 150. 30 people during winter, and about 150, 180 people during summertime. That's a number. That's the number of people who live in Ny-Ålesund in the permanent settlements there. Okay, so we are now well deep into Arctic region. Okay, well inside the Arctic Circle. So there are harsh conditions. So there are not many trees. I mean, almost there are no trees or shrubs. There's nothing which grows more than 10 centimeters tall in height. This is something that many people in RRI may not like. Cats are banned in Svalbard. Okay. And it is illegal to die in Svalbard. Okay. And then giving birth is discouraged due to lack of medical facilities. I'll tell you why it is illegal to die in Svalbard, just in case you are not already aware. So the polar night, that is when you almost have no sun, and then it is dark almost 24 hours for about 1.5 to 2 months. That happens in the middle of November to end of January. That's bang in the middle of this. That's the time that we spent there, the 1 month that we spent there. And then, like you know, now Norway is also the land of midnight sun, and then that lasts from April to August. So I just got pictures from their friends who are there saying that, okay, they got to see the first sunlight after the long winter. Okay, so that was the interesting part about, some interesting facts about Svalbard. There's a very interesting building in Longyearbyen, and that is called the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, also called as the Doomsday Vault. So that has over 1 million seeds which are stored there, and it acts as a complete backup of Earth food crop. So in case there's a catastrophe like a war or a sabotage, natural disaster or something like that, so you have a backup of all the Earth food crop, and so you can always pull it out from there. And so this structure was, this is built and operated by Norwegian authorities. And they say it is designed to resist nuclear bomb projectiles and global warming, etc. Okay. So you can, especially if you're visiting Longyearbyen during polar nights season, you really can't miss this, because it is it kind of announces itself with such a bright turquoise greenish color. It says, I'm here overlooking New Longyearbyen town. So very difficult to miss this, and even when you are landing and taking off from Longyearbyen airport, you really can't miss that. So after coming back, just preparing for this talk, I got to see that the second largest seed vault is in India. It is in a place where some of us have visited. It is Changla. Changla is a place the pass that you cross when you're traveling from Leh to Pangamso. Okay. So that was operationalized in 2011-12 kind of thing. So that is, so you're not allowed to enter this building. I think there's no one, people go there only when it is, maintenance is required or something like that. So we could go just very close to this place and then click pictures because it was dark. So, how large is it? Okay. It is built in a sandstone hillock. And then it goes about 450 feet inside. And then there are 3 walls, of which right now only 2 walls are stacked up with a lot of seats. And then it's about 150, 200 feet from inside the hillock from the top. And then it is maintained at around minus 18 degrees Celsius. And then because it is in Arctic region, even if there is a failure of the system which is maintaining the temperature, even if it fails, I think it takes about, that's what I understand, it takes about 2 years or so to come to minus 3 degrees. And from minus 3 to cross over to positive, I think it takes much more time. By then, people can do something. So that is what it is designed. There were some more interesting facts that, in spite of all these things, I think the tunnel which leads into the final vault, which is about 150 meters long, it got flooded. So there was a fear that things could have gone bad. Fortunately, all the seats are kept in airtight aluminum covers and then stored at the temperature. Fortunately, there's no damage is what we understand. Okay, so just to come back, we were in Longyearbyen. We need to make this last hop okay. So the airport here in this Ny-Ålesund town is a very small one. The regular Boeing and Airbus kind of aircrafts can't operate there. So it is a small aircraft like this. Down here, you get into this. Although there are about 19 seats, I think they have removed 3 of them just to accommodate boxes like ours. So this operates in the Svalbard main airport, and then there's an adjacent building where you get into this place, and then you can almost be there in the hangar waiting for pilot to tell you to get into it. And there were about, I think, 11 or 12 of us traveling to Ny-Ålesund at that time, totally, with additional 3 of us from India. So the first concern was, will this big box of about 4 feet by 4 feet, will it enter the aircraft? So as soon as I got a chance to see this, I messaged Saurabh saying that, okay, no, the door is much wider than that, it can comfortably fit in. Otherwise, we'll not be having our equipment, the place to carry out our RFI survey. So this is a view inside. And then sad part is, this is all we got to see, even though we were flying over Greenland Sea, and then there were snow-capped peaks and other things. Because it was polar night, we didn't really get to see anything apart from this. So just to summarize, people asked, how did you feel as soon as you landed, polar night and other things? So we didn't instantly do this transition from sunshine to polar night or something like that. So it was a gradual transition. And then when I told you about the passport stamping, this is when we landed in Tromsø. There was still sunshine. This is the last time we saw sunlight for about 28 days. And then by the time we departed Tromsø, I think the artificial lights had taken over. And then Longyearbyen, which is much higher in latitude, 78 degrees compared to Longyearbyen, which is 69. So we'll see when we landed there, it was well into polar night. And then this is Ny-Ålesund. That is the short trip in that small plane. So it was really dark. And then it's about 78.9, 79 degrees north. Everywhere you see 79N. That is the identification for Svalbard. And this is what is, I'll have a few slides about this building called Service Building. This is a central place, something similar to our RRI's main building. Okay, so this is where there's reception. This is where people assemble to meet, eat, and for social gatherings and everything. So the reason I have this picture here is you can just imagine if there is a power outage. You can see it is really fully dark. You can't see anything. Okay. So we landed here, and then this is the view of Ny-Ålesund settlement from airport. And obviously there's nothing except for the airport light is really dark. So just one slide about why we have this polar night in this area. So we all know the rotational axis of the Earth is tilted with respect to the orbital plane by about 66.5 degrees. And then during Earth's journey around the sun, if it so happens, when it happens that the Earth is tilted away from the sun, so that's when we have winter in the northern hemisphere and in summer in the southern hemisphere. So as you see, sunlight hardly reaches this higher latitude regions. So that's where you have the polar nights. And just when the tilt happens to be towards the sun, that's when you have summertime in northern hemisphere, and then that's where you have sunlight throughout the day. So the sun doesn't set at all. Okay, one is remoteness of the place. Okay, and then one other, not many people there, although there are a lot of facilities. So we thought that it will be better, pristine site for to deploy SARAS for scientific observations. And other thing that we like this time of the year is when we collected data, because there is no sun, it also gives an opportunity to study ionosphere from the data collected, because how it behaves when there is no sun. Okay, that is one thing. That's as far as astronomy is concerned. Others, other three experiments, like I said, it is mostly related to climate change study. So that IIT Mandi student is doing an interesting thing. So you always get to hear this thing. What happens in Arctic does not stay in Arctic. So all the not so nice things happening about global warming, ice melting and other things. So that's having an effect on climate changes around the globe. And then now they're saying that the converse is also true. So what is happening elsewhere in the larger spatial scales around the globe is also having an effect on Arctic. So this guy is trying to study that. He's trying to collect snow samples at different levels in the ground and then analyzing them and then saying what is the aerosols content in the snow. So I understand from him, it was interesting that there were different people, not necessarily always astronomy people. That's why we generally gather and then always talk about that. So interesting thing he said is, so he finally filters out everything and then gets a feel for what is the aerosol present in the snow. And then once aerosols settle on the snow, so it retains heat. Otherwise, it is supposed to reflect heat back. Okay, so because of that, that is one of the reasons why the ice is melting, snow is melting there. Okay, so that is one thing. The other one was studying about precipitation, again related to pollutants coming from other places and studying that. And the third person was the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. Was interesting. He's trying to study. He was another person who brought instruments, just like me, took instruments to Ny-Ålesund, and then set up to study electrical charge in the atmosphere. So he says there is increased instance of lightning in the Arctic. So he's trying to sense electric field and charges in the atmosphere and then record them. I saw his instrument in operation, and then what that is, how that is contributing to snow melting. So it was very interesting, all three of them. And then he, other thing that I should mention about this person, the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology person, is he has spent about 5 years in the Antarctic on 3 occasions, 1.5 years each. So we were really picking his brains as to life in Antarctic, Arctic versus Antarctic, we were comparing. So that's about the other thing. So again, all of them, they were data lacking during polar nights. So they're collecting data. And all these instruments are, they're logging, they're collecting data, and then people from India, they're collecting data from, by remotely logging into the system. And then in a few years' time, they will be able to compare summertime versus winter time of not only Arctic and Antarctic, what's happening. So we have reached Ny-Ålesund, and then that's welcome to the land of the king of the Arctic, the polar bear. And then what you see within this dashed yellow line, this is the Ny-Ålesund settlement. I'll have a picture in the next slide about the settlement. So this is what is called as a safe zone. You can be here, when you are inside this zone, you really, although you cannot say for sure, you don't really have to worry about polar bear when you are moving around in this place. So you will all see these such kind of warning signs all around this place, warning you that you're crossing the safe zone. And then when you're crossing this zone, you need to carry a firearm, typically a rifle, and then a flare gun for protection from polar bear. So what you see here in this red and white, within this boundary, this is the airport. We are very close to it, close to the settlement. And then there are a few labs spread around. So if you want to deploy any of your experiments beyond this boundary, you need Svalbard governor's permission. Okay. So the entire road network within this, including the airport road and other things, is about 10 kilometers. It is not like, because people either fly into this place or cruises come during summertime to this place. So there is no, like there's a highway and then this is off highway, nothing like that. There's only 10 kilometers road. So if we have to go and deploy our system beyond this place, I think we'll have to worry about logistics and then how to go about doing that. And in addition, worry about protection from polar bear. So, okay. So, brief history of this Ny-Ålesund research station. It was founded and it's founded by Kings Bay, and it's owned. Most of the land here is owned by Kings Bay. And then it was originally a mining community in 1916. So it is seeped in history. Roald Amundsen, the first person to reach South Pole. So he was here in 1926. He was there in 1926. He was trying to fly from Ny-Ålesund, the first recorded flight over North Pole from Ny-Ålesund, fly over the North Pole and land in Alaska, USA. Okay, so very interesting things. And there's a museum there which records all these things. So mining operations ended after there was a major accident in 1963. After this, the Norwegian authorities decided that no more mining, and then this place is going to be dedicated for research, and then with the vision that Ny-Ålesund is going to be the foremost research station for Arctic research and natural sciences. So that's how it began in 1964. And then this is the how it has evolved over the last 40, 50 years. So Norwegian Polar Institute of Norway, they're the first people to have year-round presence back in 1968. And then there were a few Scandinavian countries, Sweden and other countries which set up research stations. And then Germany joined in 1991. Italy joined in 1997. Yellow River Station belonging to China came up in 2004. And then Himadri, India came up in 2008. Okay. So that's how the things are. And then 2018, 2022, there are many new buildings and facilities coming up. And this is an aerial view of the Ny-Ålesund settlement. So this yellow building here, this is Himadri. And then just next to that, there's a shop. And on the other side, this is an interesting building. The world's northernmost post office is just next door, Himadri. And then opposite to that is a museum I referred to just now, which is recorded history on display there, including some of the stuff that Roald Amundsen did, and then his airship and various things. And then there's a gymnasium close to, just to keep people active. I'll have a couple of slides on that. And then this is the Norwegian Polar Institute, NPI, and this is the Italy station, and this is the service building I referred to. And then there's a harbor. During summertime, cruises come from mainland Norway. They come here. People are not allowed to stay here. Tourists are not allowed to stay here. They come, they shop, maybe have food here, and then leave the place. You're not allowed to stay here. So how is Ny-Ålesund organized and run? There are more than 20 research institutions from over 11 countries engaged in long-term research and monitoring activities. Like I mentioned, Kings Bay, it's a Norwegian company, a Norwegian government company. It provides the infrastructure necessary to conduct research and all the environment monitoring at Ny-Ålesund Research Station. That is Kings Bay's responsibility. The Norwegian Polar Institute as performs the host Norway's role, and is a point of contact for scientific research and associated activities. And then there is something called the NSMC, Ny-Ålesund Science Managers Committee, which has representation from all these 11 countries. They get together and then coordinate scientific activities there. So we see this board just before in the airport, before you get into the small flight. There's a request to turn off all your Bluetooth and wireless systems in your electronic gadgets. The reason is Norwegian Mapping Authority has a geodetic Earth station. So this is the airport, this is the Ny-Ålesund settlement, and then this is where this Geodetic Earth Observatory is there. This is the zoomed portion, and then there are two VLBI antennas here, okay. And then the specialty about this is it's one of the world's core sites for Global Geodetic Observing System, GGOS, and then the aim is to get as accurate as possible global geodetic reference frame, which is used by all our GPS and various global position systems to give us accurate positioning information. So it co-locates 4 space geodetic techniques systems. One is VLBI, that's what you see here. It's about the two 13.2-meter telescopes spread about 100 meters apart. And there's a new system. This is, I think, the center place is, NASA is heavily involved in this, setting up this, and then there are a lot of equipments there. And then data collected from this place is not processed here. It is just stored and then transferred to, that's what I understand when I visited this place, sent away to Germany and USA for further processing. Nothing happens, no processing happens here. Okay. So this VLBI station is observing quasars, is what I understand talking to them. And then that's the reason why they don't want Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, because it's observing at 3 bands. One is yes, that is 2 to 4 gigahertz, X 7 to 9 gigahertz roughly, and then Ka band 26 to 32 gigahertz. So I think from 2.4 gigahertz to 32 gigahertz is radio quiet and protected frequency range. Okay. So precisely monitor motions of Earth crust, change in sea levels, and to support satellite positioning technology for GPS. That is the larger goal of this Geodetic Observatory here. So coming to our Himadri station, that's where we spent about 25, 26 days. The entire building is about 60 feet by 40 feet, and then it is plus 20 degrees Celsius inside, temperature controlled. And then there's ground floor and first floor. First floor has all the living rooms. And then in the ground floor, as soon as you enter towards the right, you have visitors lounge. This is a visitors lounge. And then there's a computer lab. This is where we sit and work every day during daytime. And then on the left side, you have change rooms. There's people here, when they were the footwear they use, when they travel outside, when they move outside and then come back, they prefer to remove it as soon as they enter and then have a different set of footwear. I think the reason is this season, that is when we were there, because it was snow, maybe that's okay. The change of season, when there is slush, so they want to prevent the place inside getting dirty. So any place you go, including the service building, and even many hotels also request you, if possible, please do that. Okay. So change room on the left side, and then there are a couple of labs and the small kitchenette there and washrooms. And then this 24/7 hot water facility, and then this is small kitchenette and chemical wet lab, what they call. And first floor has, like I said, there are 4 rooms, 1, 2, and then the third one is opposite to the roof, and the fourth one is on the right side. Each room can comfortably accommodate 2 people. So at any point of time in Himadri, 8 people can stay. So, but because it was the first winter expedition, I think the NCPO did not want to take chances. They sent only 4 people so that things are comfortable. And then interesting about this is Himadri is a heritage building. It was a school for children of coal miners. So the local people have a lot of respect for this place. So a cargo finally arrived. It got delayed because of Christmas and New Year holidays. So after checking for any missing items or damages or something, we put the entire RFI monitoring system for Saras as well as Apsara together, make sure that everything is working. And then it was all ready to be deployed in a place which is about 1.25 kilometers away from Himadri. So the system consists of something like this: is an antenna to collect it collects electromagnetic signal, converts it to electrical signal. There's a preamplifier which amplifies the signal, weak signal, and then there's a 10-meter coaxial cable which carries the signal to this RF shielded enclosure, which houses post amplifier, a spectrum analyzer, and a laptop. So the reason it is put inside this box is we don't want emissions from this to be picked up by antenna, and then we want to get confused with that. Okay, so the entire thing operates out of batteries here, so we can go and deploy it in remote places without worrying about power source. So we are all ready to, after checking the system, we are ready to take it to the place. So just before we do that, I'll just spend this slide and the next slide about some interesting pictures from this. So one thing that is you can very clearly notice is all buildings are very well lit. And then we don't have white lights, it is mostly yellow lights. They're very bright inside. And then the streets and then surrounding the buildings, it's really bright. The reason is, it is to mimic daylight. And then the moment you switch off, it's really dark. So this on and off cycle kind of mimics day and night, and then that helps in maintaining your circadian rhythm. Okay, so that's about that. And then when we landed in Ny-Ålesund, it was very close to full moon. And first few days, it was skies were cloudy. We couldn't see the full moon. So in the dark, we could only make out the silhouette of surrounding hills around the Ny-Ålesund place. And once skies were clear and moon took full effect, the full moon took full effect, and it bathed the Ny-Ålesund settlement in moonlight, we could see and identify snow-capped peaks. And then, although we knew from Google Maps that the Greenland Sea was just about 150 meters behind Himadri station, only after a few days we got an opportunity to see water here, which only because of reflection from moonlight. Okay, otherwise it's difficult to make out. And then there was this constant queries from friends here, and then for everyone, how did you see northern lights? So we were waiting for new moon to, the full moon to be, or the days of full moon to get over, and then have dark skies. And then by January 4th or 5th, after about 7-8 days, that was the first time that we got to see northern lights. So this was really a surreal experience to see curtains of light hanging from, as if they're hanging from heaven. So typically we get to see mostly green light, okay? And then these are the pictures clicked by residents of Himadri, and this is from US Trolli. And this is just to show that it is not necessarily green, although green is dominant. There are various other colors like pink, blue, depending on levels of gas present, and then interaction of these gases with charged particles which are coming from the sun. Okay, so that was about the northern lights and full moon, other things. So we are all ready to deploy our systems in a place which is about 1.2 kilometers from Himadri. This is the lab called Gruevada Atmosphere Laboratory, GBL for short. This is how it looks in summer, but this is how we got to see because it was polar night. And then you rent a car from Kings Bay, and then you drive it yourself every day when you commute, when you have to travel between Himadri and GBL. Okay, so this picture is interesting. This is Erlen, carpenter with Kings Bay. So he built this platform for us. Roof is sloping, then we don't want antenna to tilt. So he made this platform such that when the antenna is placed on this, it is flat. So talking to him, he showed us this this interesting thing. Like you can see this gap here. So he told us 6 to 7 years back when this building came up, ground was almost at the same level as where the building ended. So permafrost is thawing. This is the global warming effect. And then he says he's been there for about 6 years. He says typically 4 to 5 inches every year it's going down. So it's now about 2.5 feet down. And there's open space. Then because they put a small steps to climb up this. Otherwise, you could simply walk when it was made earlier. So it's asking, why are you doing this? Why do you want to have steps outside in the cold? So we got that answer. So our antennas are deployed, and then the preamplifier is just beneath this, protecting it from snow, and the 10-meter coaxial cable is bringing the signal into this room, which is below this. And interesting about this room is they initially did not want me to set it up here, but I wanted this place because the coaxial cable is only 10 meters long. I had to bring that signal down. I could not have occupied any other place. The reason they didn't want me to do that is because if you're just walking across the lab, you can see that it is shaking because of permafrost thawing, and then the support structure is weak. So because I told them I'm going to be there only for a week or so, they somehow allowed me walking. You could feel that it is shaking. And then this is the Gruevada lab On the right side, this is where India has a lot of its experiments running in the lab here. And the other side is occupied by Italians. They have many of their experiments running. And the small space in between Indian side and Italian side, a small room is occupied by Japanese. They are having their experiments running there. So a lot of experiments are running here. Okay, and then our antenna was set up on top of this, on this rooftop here. So this is the setup. This is the data recording system inside the shielded enclosure. And then we are ready to observe. So for reference, this is initial results from RFI data. I'll not really get into deep into this, and more details of this we can have it discuss this online, offline. And then just for reference, this is the RFI scenario in Gauri Bidnur for Saras frequency range, 5 to 500 megahertz. This is what we measured in the Himadri session when we put things together just to see if everything is working fine. So we noticed that there are 2 FM lines in Ny-Ålesund, a repeater station. So the car that we were driving, so we could listen to music, there were 2 FM stations. And then the airport has its communication lines operating between at 121.5 and 123.9 megahertz. So typically it comes on whenever airport comes alive. That flight only comes to Ny-Ålesund only twice a week, maybe Monday and Friday. Okay, so whenever that happens before it takes off from Longyearbyen, so airport comes alive. Otherwise, it is shut. Okay, and so, if this is inside, this is the RFA scenario in Himadri. Obviously, there are so many other things, laptop, computers, and various other things, equipment running in the settlement area. So once this is from the Guruvada lab. So this small difference here, Himadri station is 5 to 500 megahertz. And then here we have a 30 to 300 megahertz filter, bandpass filter, and a FM reject filter to remove this the FM lines here, okay, to attenuate the FM lines here. So conclusion is 100 to 200 megahertz, it appears really clean, except for the 172 megahertz signal, which is local handheld radio communication, walkie-talkie that you need to carry whenever you go out of Himadri just for safety purpose. So in case of any emergency or something like that, there's a special red button. You press this, straight away it goes to a 24/7 security personnel who will come to your rescue in case of polar bear sightings or something like that. So that is this frequency. It is intermittent, and then this was during daytime. Maybe nighttime, maybe people are not really going around. Maybe it will be clean, or even otherwise it will be intermittent. Yeah. 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 Yes. You're right. The reason is there are so many other experiments running in Guruvada lab. Okay. There are at least 8 or 10 experiments belonging to NCPOR, Indian Institute of Geomagnetism. Okay, they're all running there, and then we don't know how many experiments are running in the Italian side. So
that's the reason. Thanks.
Okay, so another interesting thing is, important thing is we do not notice any strong out-of-band RFI. This is something that has been bothering us when we go to places like Ladakh or Shimoga and other places. Very strong out-of-band RFI folds in, and then that causes a lot of problems. So there are no obvious strong lines during the time that we collected data. So in general, it looks like RFA scenario is very encouraging, and then that is what encourages us to reach out to NCPR once again. So we also characterize the Apsara frequency range, RFA scenario and Apsara frequency range, 500 megahertz to 4 gigahertz. This is waterfall from Gauri Bidnur Observatory, and this is from the Guruvada. And then we expect this to be much better than this. The reason is it is radio quiet from 2.4 gigahertz to up to 32 gigahertz almost. So like you see, beyond 2 gigahertz, it's really clean. So even the Apsara frequency range is really clean. This again, the service building. I just come back to this. This is where we, the entire, all residents of Ny-Ålesund station, they come here for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then every Wednesday at 8:15, there's what is called a station leaders meeting. Station leaders from all stations belonging to various countries, they gather in this place. And then this is convened by Norwegian Polar Institute. Basically, it is trying to and understand how our experiments are progressing, and then what kind of support is required from Norwegian Polar Institute as well as Kings Bay, logistic support, so that you don't go there and then say, I want this by tomorrow, so that you plan and then tell them beforehand what you need next week. And then, like I said, this is a place to meet, eat, and then all for social gatherings, and then there's a laundry facility. And then this is a picture, this is how the service building looks in summer. Reindeers grazing after the snow is gone. And then this is the view that you get when you're sitting here at the dining table. Unfortunately, this is what we saw. So maybe you need to go there during summertime. Okay. And then typically how our typical day, how it really goes by. So unlike here, we wait for sunrise or the dawn, something like that, and then typically something inside you says, okay, it's time, wake up. There's nothing, because it's night all along. So you have to go by clock time. You set your clock, okay, 6 o'clock, you need to get up, have an alarm, and then you'll be ready for breakfast during weekdays, 7:30 to 8:30. And then lunch is between 12 noon and 1 o'clock. Dinner is really early, like the way it happens in most European countries, that's what I understand, between 4:30 and 5:30. This is how it is during weekdays, but weekends is a bit interesting. So there's no breakfast, it is straight away brunch. So we were joking that it is intermittent fasting for about 17 hours during weekends. And then Friday, this dress code for dinner, you need to come in your formals. Okay. And then typically this is what I would, this is what I survived on. So baked boiled potatoes, carrot, beetroot, bell pepper, and then kiwi fruits, grapes, and oranges, and bread and butter. Occasionally there will be something interesting like this tiramisu. Okay, so we will be really excited. Tiramisu is an Italian dessert. It actually means pick me up or cheer me up. So it did really cheer me up whenever it was served. So there is a big screen like this, which is always giving you live information about current weather in Ny-Ålesund. So this, the data is generated by this French-German station. So I would always click pictures typically during breakfast time. And then the reason I'm showing this is, I think this is on January 4th, wind chill temperature went to minus 40.7. This was the lowest that we encountered. Okay, so had data for all the days that we were there. Average air temperature was around minus 10 degrees. Average wind speed was about 15 kilometers per hour. So because of this wind, average wind chill temperature was minus 20. So this is what you felt typically when you are outside. And like I said, January 4th, it went down to minus 40.5. This is the lowest I have experienced, just to put things. The other side again is with Saras. When we deployed Saras in Timbuktu, that's when we survived in systems, and we survived 48 degrees. So minus 42 plus 48 is something that I have, I'm happy to say that I've survived it. So before you go, you read up about how you gear up yourself, what kind of dress you buy. So although you don't want to smell like one, they say dress like onion, multiple layers. Okay. So merino wool is the base layer. It's a special wool which keeps you warm and then dry. And then over that is something made of fleece. And then this is the most important one, which is waterproof and snowproof jacket. And then ski hat, gloves, and boots. So there's a popular saying in Scandinavian countries, there is no such thing as bad weather, it's only bad clothing. So don't complain about weather and then don't say, I'm not able to do that or this. So just get on with life and then be better prepared. So they say polar nights, they don't deter outdoor activities. So it is, be ready. So getting to know what is required, then all the stuff, the multiple layers that I mentioned, I could purchase all of them in Decathlon here in Bangalore, and then they really served well. And then this jacket was rated for -30, and then only one day, January 4th, it was -40. I could manage really, no problem. So, well, when you see me in this jacket and the multiple layers, these three were happy to be in what is called dangri. So there's a zip here, it's one piece, you just get into it and then zip up. They prefer to be in this. I did not want to be doing that because I had to move from inside the lab where it is maintained at +20 degrees and then outdoors, which is typically -20 degrees. So it was difficult to get in and out of this every time that I had to make, like you put in a new filter and then check the system and acquire for some time, then you put some other filter, so multiple trips. So I prefer to be this is easy to discard this outer jacket and then work. It was difficult to, with all these multiple layers, it was difficult to drive. So even though it was cold, I decided to ditch gloves so that you get a better feel for, because it is challenging driving, not experience. A couple of things, it was an electric vehicle, and B, you're driving on the left side, sitting on the left side, unlike us, and then you're driving on snow. So obviously there's no exposure to that kind of a thing. So I wanted to get a feel from the traction of the vehicle. So decided to ditch gloves even though it was cold, and then hands would be freezing by the time I reached Himadri or whatever. So this flipping of this sign from going from indoor to outdoor, that was a nuisance because you have to repeatedly remove these layers. And so in general, life in Ny-Ålesund. So on the dining tables there, every table has this. Please don't stream and serve by the dining table in the restaurant area. Seek private areas if you have to really take a phone call. So what they mean is the table is for food and talk. They encourage you to chat with other people, so get to know, network, understand from which country they are coming on, their experiments, and then get to know about them better. So the first opportunity that we had was during Christmas time. So they invited us to participate in decorating Christmas tree. This really helped us to break the ice there. So we got really familiar with a lot of Norwegian Polar Institute people and Kings Bay people. So it was easy to reach out to them and then get. And then people visit different stations. This French person was visiting our Himadri, and then Italy people invited us just a few days before we left. And then people, when we went there, we saw people are really, at least the women folk, they were knitting, really hurrying to complete their knittings. The stuff made out of wool to present them to friends and relatives during Christmas time. And then there are some people who engage themselves in drawing, painting. This is a picture of this person with her huskies, and then this is done by this and handed over to. Okay. The reason I'm showing this picture is this person is Julia Thronberg. So this is the person from Kings Bay that she was our point of contact. And then every now and then she would vanish from our dinner table. So when you asked her what's happening, she said, I come early, pick up food, put it in a box, and I go back to my station, and then connect with my mother, either Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever it is, and they both of them have dinner over Zoom. So that's how she connects with her mother. So blending traditional practices with modern. And then welfare there is welfare, and it offers opportunity for active lifestyle. So the gym I refer to, it has a full-fledged gym, massage chairs, sauna, and then there is this place for badminton and what they call as bandy, kind of hockey with bent hockey stick and then a ball. And then people form teams and then spend evenings after their working hours to be active and fit. And then there's another interesting that happens with this, with people here. There are what is called as cabin and wilderness hut. So there are 18 or 20 of them spread far away from Ny-Ålesund settlement. And then by Tuesday, Wednesday, people book these huts, and sometimes they go away alone or in groups just to break the monotonous thing to the week. So they go there, spend the weekend there, and then come back Monday morning. So we were taken to, on the last day, just the day before the last day, we were taken to this cabin called Ny-Ålesund. There is something, I'm running short of time. So it was interesting. So I've not spoken anything about polar bears. So polar bear came to this place. It seems they're extremely sensitive to smell, food smell. So whenever people go to such cabins, they bring back leftover food or whatever waste and other things. So they don't leave it here. They are so smart that they could open the latch, go in, bring out food, and they even pulled out a sofa and then sat on it. So you're not really safe even when you're inside that cabin there. So people who have spent more than 3 or 4 years in Ny-Ålesund, I had one question to all of them. Do you prefer polar days or polar nights? That is all nights or all the 24/7 sun kind of thing. So even despite me asking them binary, which one, this or that kind of a thing, nobody gave me an answer saying that, no, we like both of them. Because each one brings with it its own challenges and opportunities. So, and then when you check back World Happiness Report, you find that Norway is ranked 7. So they don't allow polar nights, depression and other things. It's unheard of, that's what we understand, unless there is already some issues with that person. So not really surprised by this ranking. And then food, we noticed that they really lot of vegetables and fruits, and then very less fried items. And then they're ranked in top 10 in terms of healthiest countries. So maybe there's a correlation. If you're healthy, you tend to be happy. So now we are back in Oslo, and then our NCPOR people who coordinate, Dr. Rohit Srivastava and Dr. Manish Tiwari, they told me that India's ambassador in Norway, he wants to meet us. So we come back in the evening, and then he was busy till about 10:20 with official engagements. So our airport is, from his place is, in the Oslo city is about 50 kilometers. So he drove down in the late night, and then it was really snowing that time. And then he reached, he met us from 11:15 to 12:35, heard us about our experiments and our experience. And then I was supposed to hand over report from all 4 of us about our activities, and then what we, the data we gathered, and then how it was, some initial results. So we handed over this. So he left around 12:35 p.m. At 12:52, he's still yet to reach home. He has already tweeted. So he has gone through the report, got our names, whatever we did, picked up some sentences from the report, and then he's tweeted. So by coincidence, this day happens to be 27th of February, happens to be International Polar Day. So a nice talk about polar bears and on Polar Day. What a coincidence. So I'll just leave you with this last slide. Thank you for your time and patience. And I think I vouch for each and every sentence here. The last sentence, this is a quote from Arctic Dreams, a book written by Barry Lopez, award-winning American author. And then the last sentence, the Arctic leaves an imprint that cannot be erased, changing those who have experienced it forever. I think I would simply go for that and then vouch for that. So thank you. So I hope I've just given you a feel for life in Ny-Ålesund, and then the challenges and other things that you encounter when you're doing your experiments. Yeah.
So was there a specific reason why India did not man the winters? They had a station since 2008, but why did it take so many years to start the winter, 15 years?
So it was, like I said, been in operation since 2008. Minister Kiran Rijiju visited in June 2023, and then that's when he saw that it is not being manned. And then there are also some geopolitical aspects to this. That's what I understood. So June 2023 when he visited, so I think that's when they thought that, okay, we should man it around the year. And then from June to September, it really happened so quickly. And then by December, we were already there, the first Antarctic expedition. So just that they wanted to.
Other questions?
Hey, Girish, thanks for the talk. After your team left, is there any other
Yes.
members continuously occupying the?
Yes.
So,
15 out of 41 proposals were accepted. So the plan was to have 4 experiments on the next set of people. Okay. So they had about 3 or 4 days overlap with us. Okay. So they came, and then so we generally introduce them to the people who are the important people, the point of contacts with NPI and Norwegian Polar Institute, as well as Kings Bay. So there was overlap, and then this overlap is going to be there for other groups as well. So 15 out of 41. There was the one person who came in the next batch when we were still there. That one person was staying there for 3 months. So 4 places sufficient or comfortable for 4 people. Himadri living space is sufficient, comfortable for 4 people. So it happens in every month. New batch comes with small overlap.
thank you.
So
Thank you.
entire winter time is going to be Himadri will be occupied.
Is there any acclimatization
Yeah.
time period to go there? For example, go to Antarctica, you have to go to Cape Town, South Africa,
Right.
and you need to stay and get used to it. Is there
Right.
any such thing? And
No.
also, is there any international treaty? Like Antarctica, you can't mine or you have to
Right.
preserve the place forever. So is there any treaty like that?
Okay. First question, is there any acclimatization required? No, there's no acclimatization required. One difference between Arctic and the Antarctic thing is, Antarctic is much harsher. So like we say that average temperature during winter was about -20. Antarctic will be much less, maybe -40, 50, something like that. And then this is something that I learned from that colleague who has visited Antarctica. So wind is one thing. He says there's almost no wind here, even though it is about 15 kilometers per hour. Antarctica is very harsh. Okay, so maybe you need to acclimatize to all these things, whereas here it is much more comfortable. And all stations are maintained, temperature controlled, maintained at around +15. They say Himadri is the warmest. Okay, so that much more easier to do that. And then this is at sea level. As Antarctica, the continent itself is about 2.8 kilometers, 2,800 meters above sea level. And then just trying to understand why Antarctica is much colder than that. I think here we'll have Gulf Stream. So warm air comes from North Atlantic, blows over Arctic region and things. Whereas there's one major difference between Arctic and Antarctic. Arctic is a sea, is a ocean with the top layer with snow and ice. Okay, whereas Antarctica is a continent with thick layer of snow surrounded by ocean. Okay, so there's one major difference. So because of this geographical thing, it seems wind in the Antarctic is not allowed to escape. It simply it keeps going around. So that cold is maintained. Whereas here you have Gulf Stream. Okay. So no acclimatization required. International treaty. Svalbard region, there is Svalbard Treaty of 1920. Okay, so British India had signed that, and then after independence, India continues to honor that. Okay, so after this mining accident, I think they've decided no more mining and other things. So it's basically for research only, and then it's an international station. They say it is mini UN kind of a thing, about in Longyearbyen, about their population is about 2,500. There are people from 45 to 50 different countries. So they're encouraging people to come here, carry out their research and experiments and go back. So no place for mining and other things. Yeah.
Yeah, you said an interesting point. It's illegal to die, and you didn't touch
Illegal
upon
to
it.
die. Okay. Thanks for reminding me. So I showed you the picture of Erlin showing us that this permafrost thawing. So permafrost, just to explain, is block of ice, maybe about from about 1.5 meters beneath ground to about extending to about 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometers. So it acts like something like a concrete holding things together. So if a dead person is buried inside, because it is so cold, body is preserved. And not just the body, not only the body is the body preserved, all the viruses and other things are also preserved. So because of thawing, okay, one fine day, people who are long gone, buried, and they can come up if this keeps happening. And but the most important thing is that they don't want all these dangerous things, viruses and other things to be preserved and then come out in the open. But that's going to happen, looks like that is one concern. That's why a lot of focus on Arctic climate change study. They say there are very harmful viruses and other things as of now in the permafrost. If it keeps thawing like this, and then things can, one day, all these things can come out along with methane gas and other things which is coming out of this.
Sorry, one last question.
Yes.
Is there any no-fly zone over this region? Because
that's the only aircraft which operates. And then we did not really see any international flights which fly over Arctic. I don't think we, and there was no interference also momentarily from this data that we have. Yeah.
So I did not see any satellites coming. Is it because there are very less satellites that are in polar orbits,
Yes.
or?
Yeah. Okay. So nice thing you noticed that. If you try to Google, open Google Maps, you will not be able to locate this. Okay, Google has blocked this. So because it is doing such sensitive measurement, I think they're intentionally avoiding this region. Okay, so a nice question because in cirrus frequency range of frequency of interest, whenever we go and deploy, the first line which tells us that our system is working fine is at around 137.5 degrees, OPCOM satellite. So when we see that line, we will say that, okay, system is working fine. We didn't see that. That was the concern. So figured out that you don't see any satellites. I think maybe they're avoiding this so that it doesn't interfere with that geodetic observatory.
also the US satellites are not there, right? That's
US
seen
satellites are
everywhere
not-
in
yes,
autumn.
what you see here, they're not there. Almost, maybe there's only one satellite in the high frequency, this Apsara. Otherwise, there are not many satellites.
Any other questions?
Sorry.
How was the sky for astronomy observations? Like the sky was clear? Or?
Yes. Unfortunately, just like we see in Bangalore, if a couple of days if it is nice and clear blue sky, suddenly there is cloud in the next few days. We encountered somewhat similar situation there. It was for the 25 days that we stayed there. I think at least for 10 to 15 days it was cloudy. We really did not. Maybe I'll answer this way. The skies that we have seen in Ladakh is way better than this. Yes. And then this place, like I mentioned that very bright lights from buildings. So you need to really go far away from. But even otherwise, we were really lucky to find even those northern lights. Okay. So it is the change. So there is something called, these are a few terms that I understood. There's something called Arctic amplification. For us, amplification is only about electrical signal being amplified, strength being increased. So Arctic is warming up 2 to 3 times faster than the rest of the world, rest of the globe. So things are really worrisome there.
And one personal thing was, I mean,
Yeah.
did you have any health problems?
Okay, so first question people were asking is, okay, there was no sun. What happens with your vitamin D things? So my neighbor is a orthopedic surgeon. So I checked with him, what do I do? He said, if it is only 15 to 20 days, 25 days time, don't worry. By the time your body understands that it is not getting the required thing, you'll be back. So people who stay there for longer duration, okay, so they need to take vitamin D supplements. And there is one very small clinic there with very minimal facility. And then even if you forgot to take your vitamin D supplements or something, you can buy from the shop there. So that is as far as vitamin D is concerned. In general, I think there were no health issues for any of us. You're eating really good food. You're not eating any of the oily stuff. Good quality vegetables and fruits. And, so fortunately, there was no health issue. Yeah. So another thing, at least from talking from my point of view, is all our trips to Ladakh kind of primed me to be there. So minus 20, minus 40, it didn't really matter. We had experienced minus 20 earlier in Pangong. So nothing.
Are there any medical fitness requirements to go there, or age limits?
At least not anything that I am aware of. No, I don't think like anybody checked with us, are you okay? Whereas I think the one question about, you asked about Antarctica, I think Antarctica requires that. Here, I don't think I even came across any questionnaire or something like that saying that, do you have any of these things? Something like that.
Any last questions? Okay. If not, let's thanks Girish once again for a wonderful talk.
Thank you.
And high tea is just downstairs, so please join us there.